Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Final Gaze. We're in Season 2 right now, and welcome back. We're happy to be here. So let's get into the movie we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking Jordan Peele's Us. Now, I bet you're wondering why we're doing Us instead of Get Out, since, Get Out came out first. Unfortunately,
because I fucked up.
Yeah, there were some technical errors with our last recording session, so to make things easier on us, we're just going to switch it up. So we're still going to do an episode for Get Out, but we're going to do Us first. So
Yeah.
You'll get it, just out of order. Well, let's just jump right into it, shall we, Toby? When was the first time you watched Us?
I saw it in theaters twice. The weekend it came out, and then I think like a couple weeks later I went and saw it with a friend. So yeah, it was weekend of release, and I've seen it a couple times since.
Yeah, right. I only saw it one time in theater, and it was the 7 p.m. screening of it, and randomly, I don't know why I went to this theater, but it wasn't at the normal Tummy Marketplace. I saw it at Arizona Mills. I don't know why. I guess we were just there, maybe. I have no idea. It only happened, 2 years ago now, right? 2019 this came out?
Yeah, not too long ago at all.
Yeah. But Arizona Mills, for some reason. And honestly, I only watched it that one time. I've owned it for quite some time, and actually haven't really watched it at home. So I was only able to experience it twice in my whole lifetime. Once for the first theatrical experience, and second for this episode. So, which by the way, I gotta say, I'm getting old, and I started watching this last night, and I fell asleep. So I ended up watching the second half of it at work today. So it wasn't as bad as a Suspiria thing, but it was.
Yeah, not too bad. I wouldn't think. Not as bad as Suspiria.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think.
At least I saw it beforehand.
Yes, that is true.
But okay, I'd say it's high time to get back into that thing we love the most. You know what time it is. Cue the music.
What time is it?
And now it's time for our favorite part of the podcast, Nerdy Film Score Talk. Nerdy Film Score Talk. Okay, so I think this actually works out, because I think we had a lot to say about the composer Michael Abels for Get Out. So now we're actually going to dedicate a Nerdy Film Score Talk to this composer and his work on the film Us. So first of all, Michael Abels kind of came out of nowhere. He wasn't really known primarily to be a film composer. One of the things that I found out while doing research for him this time around was that he is a classically trained composer, meaning that he writes symphonies and orchestras, nothing really for music. And it wasn't until Jordan Peele discovered some of his orchestral works on YouTube, and I think the title was called Urban Legends. So that inspired Jordan Peele to hire him for Get Out, and of course, next movie, he brings him back for the second movie he's made. So we have a director-composer working repertoire. We got James Cameron with James Horner. We got our Wes Craven, Marco Beltrami, so on and so forth. David Cronenberg and Howard Shore. So now we got Jordan Peele and Michael Abels. We want to talk about 5 tracks this evening. The first being Anthem.
I think it's my favorite one.
Yeah? I think after listening to this whole entire score, I think that's my favorite track too, because normally I go through the whole score and I mark down what songs I want to listen to, and then I narrow those down to like the 6 we'll talk about. And I realized that the only reason why I liked the other tracks is because they sounded similar to Anthem. And that's just because they feature children singing creepy, nonsensical words. That's one of the first things I did while doing research, in that I wanted to see if they were actually saying something. It turns out that they're not. They're just saying, as the composer directly said, they're just reciting vowels that are easy to sing.
Well, it works. It works
Yeah.
for me.
And one of the things that Jordan Peele and Michael Abels wanted to do is that they wanted to take something you always assumed was innocent, which in this case is a child's voice, and turn it into something else, something menacing. And honestly,
Not hard
it
to
worked.
do.
Yeah, it
Kids
was.
are fucking creepy.
They are creepy, and their voices. It should be like you think of a boy choir, at least you think of peace and serenity, like church music,
Angelic voices.
and this just sounds like there's children of the corn are coming out of the corn to slit our throats and sacrifice us to a god.
I mean, it almost reminds me of The Omen, the Rectus Dominus,
Yeah.
like that kind of level of music or kind of music.
See, that's why I thought it was initially Latin, but it's nothing. It's just
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought so too the first time I heard it. I thought they were speaking Latin.
They may as well have been like the Who's from Whoville, Foos Ro Da or something.
Oh my god, please don't put that in my mind. That's in my head.
And the next track I want to talk about is called Escape to the Boat. And this is where I feel that Jordan Peele was a genius for hiring Michael Abels because of his classical background. This track alone already has inspirations from such composers as Stravinsky and Wagner. And it's great because I'm not shit-talking other horror composers because they have their own, draws of inspiration. But here we have pretty much a modern-day Bernard Herrmann. This is I made a note earlier in the things I sent you regarding Nerdy Film Score Talk that the Get Out and the Us score sounds like if Bernard Herrmann composed music for a 2010s movie.
I don't have a lot of reference for Bernard Herrmann.
Psycho.
No, that's probably the only.
That's an
the only
easy
theme
one.
I know is it's the only one I know.
Yeah, I think he did North by North. Well, a lot of Alfred Hitchcock. I think he did North by Northwest. I'm pretty sure he did.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that one. That's okay. I'm not going to deck points for you because I just barely saw that like 2 years ago. So. But yeah, no, I definitely like this because it, as much as it is a modern horror film, it feels like a very classical score. And I feel that kind of mirrors, Jordan Peele as a filmmaker, because I love his logo for Monkey Paw Productions or Films or something. It's like that itself gives an elegant spin to traditional horror stories, And I like how it's both a reference to the cup of tea from Get Out, but it's also, you kind of think of as a cup of tea.
For some reason,
very...
I didn't put that together.
Oh, really?
In my mind. I don't know why I didn't put that together, but
yeah,
duh.
No.
That just seems like so duh.
Yeah, and plus I like, at least for me, tea symbolizes like high class citizenry. So like, oh, we're gonna drink some tea.
I do prefer tea over coffee.
Boom. So it just, I just feels like it's just a sophisticated mind telling horror stories and not in a dumb way. This isn't your bye-bye man,
Wow, that recording's somewhere.
It is out there. It exists. I low-key want to hear it again.
It was fun. That was a fun one.
Yeah. So the next track I want to make reference to is Femme Fatale. And, I'm usually not a sucker for like older scores, but this just sounds like it strolled right out of the golden age of cinema in a sultry
old
dress.
Hollywood.
Yeah. There's our
Yeah.
Bernard Herrmann. There's our 1940s, 50s, like, wow, 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 wow. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it is, what's her face?
Um,
Oh my gosh. Invisible Woman
Handmaid's
girl.
Tale, Invisible Woman, or Invisible
Our
Man.
Invisible
sorry.
Man. Elizabeth Moss.
I am so sorry, actress. Yes, Elizabeth Moss. That's the one. I was thinking plant.
Moss.
Something moss. Something with a plant. Okay.
Elizabeth, not Elizabeth. So.
I get it.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, it's her looking very psychotic in a mirror. So, love it.
This track fits really, really good with the scene that it takes place in, because Elizabeth Moss' character also wanted to be an actress, and so it's like,
it's very fitting.
Of course, it's very fitting. Yeah. I did really like that when it played.
Because I believe she was the only one to really kind of mess with like the look of herself. Like she was putting on makeup and.
Yeah, and she was gonna do because her main version did the plastic surgery, so she was like cutting herself with the. I thought that was genius.
Oh God, I didn't piece that together. Holy shit, that's awesome. All right, and the next track, and I think we both like this track, is Zora Drives. The only note I had about this, and again, this just comes down to like the brilliance of Jordan Peele, is that Jordan Peele suggested to Michael Abels that he should combine instruments that normally wouldn't fit together. So you get like a pretty intense action scene like this. You know, you're thinking like, oh yeah, drums and heavy strings, and it's really intense. But the direction was combine instruments that normally wouldn't work together. So the one thing you hear in this track is a little itty bitty dulcimer.
But it works. I mean, this is one of those kinds of tracks that I love because it just builds momentum and kind of gets you pumped. It's like chase music.
Yeah, and I like the inclusion of that dulcimer because I think the dulcimer may have been mainly represented for Zora's character anyways. So it was still practical in its presence, and kind of just a small little reference. Another scene that does that where it's like just really overtly like, wow, that's an instrument that feels out of place but somehow fits, is the beach walk scene. I believe it's a little kalimba thing or kalimba, however you would say it. So.
Oh, those little...
Yeah, the little thumbs. Yeah. So
Brian wants one of those.
They look easy to play. I have a feeling it's just you just hit it and no matter what, it sounds pretty. But at least that's what I think. But yeah, I love Zora's Drive. Not only because it is a good action sequence, but it's also a pretty unique orchestrations happening there too. And finally, the grand finale of the entire score that has been building up to this since the first trailer we saw for Us. And I had to look this up on how to say it right because I didn't want to fuck up French, and I'm probably still going to fuck it up, but the track we want to reference is called Pas de Deux. I'm pretty sure you can probably say it with more of a French accent, so...
Pas de deux? I don't know.
Pas de deux. You know.
Pas de deux. Whatever. That was terrible. I'm sorry, French listeners.
But I believe it is like not. I think like literally translated it means for two, but I think it's more of like a slang French term which means dance for two, which is fitting considering that the themes happening within the movie have our main character as a former dancer.
Yeah.
So it's but this scene is probably the most unique creative scene in a horror movie I've ever seen. It's a fight scene with this music that sounds like a ballerina dance battle. And not only
it's
that,
awesome.
Yeah, and not only that, it's a classic hip hop song. and it got transformed into a terrifying ballet number. Who saw that coming? I think pretty much this is a track that has transcended fans of music. Not only is it like a cover, like a remix cover of a hip hop song, but it's also very, people love it even though they didn't really listen to this kind of music. So
it's a good song. I like that song
just by itself. And I was reading through some YouTube comments about this track, and there's a lot of character orchestrations happening within the track as well, because there is moments where certain parts of the song represent a character. One is a bit more clumsy and really doesn't know how to fend for herself, and the other one is more precise and exact with her movements. Obviously, we know which character is which. So, yeah. But I mean, those are the tracks I wanted to discuss about Us. What did you think about the score for Michael Abel's score for Us?
I loved it. I think it fit very well, and it's one of those scores which I love, that fits well with what's going on screen. But I feel listen to it separately. There's a lot of tracks that I do have on my phone that that come on my shuffle every once in a while, and I don't skip them. Anthem being one of them. But I really enjoy this score. I really enjoy, like you were saying, the kind of weird instruments that he uses that you wouldn't think would mesh together, but they do. And then I like that he kept the sort of childlike chanting that he sort of did with the beginning of Get Out. I feel like it's a good evolution of the Get Out score, and I don't, not to give my rating away later, I also prefer this score over the last one. So
yeah, and it's crazy because now it's like I think I've had a little reverse here as far as the music goes. I much prefer this score because it is more of a horror driven score, and Michael Abels will admit to that, and even the film wise, that Us is more of a horror film than Get Out, and
Agreed.
thus
Definitely.
And thus his score represents that. And I will say this much: Anthem is on my workout playlist because it has a marching
and it
tempo
like,
to
builds.
it. Yeah, so it's like, I don't know what the hell's going on there, but you know exactly what I mean. I love this score. So let's jump right into the movie. So what were your first thoughts coming out of the theater? First time you watched it?
Be real honest, the first time I watched it, I did not leave the theater very happy. I was really disappointed. I was really pumped off of his success of Get Out and how great that movie was, and how clear the message of that movie was. And then when I I was expecting the exact same thing from Us, just a clear message, a very tight story, and it's almost the opposite of Get Out, and where the tone and the flow of the movie it's kind of all over the place. Like, I feel like the movie's flowing and then boom, gets stopped by a random scene or something, or things you just don't expect. And the message is also kind of, when I first saw it, it was like, well, what is he trying to say this time? Like, now, what's her name? Red? Her line, "We are Americans," or "We're Americans," that was like confusing. So are Americans pieces of shit, or are we just clones of people, or it's cultural? I mean, I think now it's kind of like a cultural appropriation thing. Like, we're kind of taking and mimicking other cultures, kind of like the Tethered are doing with their version. It's not the real thing; they're just mimics of it, or ghosts of whatever. It's still one of those movies where you can kind of read a bunch of stuff into it. But like I said, when I first saw the movie, I was disappointed that it wasn't just what I wanted, I thought. It took it took about another viewing and a half for me to like understand what he was going for, or at least appreciate what he was doing, and kind of let go of the expectations that I had to begin with. So
Yeah.
It has grown on it grew on me hardcore actually. And then reading like a lot of like articles and things about it, and things that Jordan Peele just talked about trying to put into it, and then other people's like critiques of it and how deep it actually can be sometimes. I grew to love it.
Yeah. So yeah, that line actually, we're Americans. That
I
one.
disagree with that though. That was so annoying. The voice. I get why she has the voice. Sorry, not you. You were like, oh, so hurt that I just.
I'm not that bad.
That was annoying, Harrison. God. No, I don't like the choice of the voice. I get it because she got, just don't have her speak. Like,
yeah, so many things. I was like planning these 4 things in my head. I was like, okay, I gotta reference that. So I'm gonna try and go back again real quick. So,
okay,
but
sorry.
that line, "We're Americans," you took it as cultural appropriation. Even upon my first viewing, especially with how it ended, with how we see the tethered and how they operate beneath the ground, I took it more as God, not even a second-class citizen. A third class, maybe even lower than that. Whatever was below the level of the third class in the Titanic, the rats, because the tethered, perfectly represented by the line of how the tethered version of our main character birthed the children. She gave birth to a daughter. Okay. She that I guess it kind of went well, but then when she mentioned the birthing of the son, she says that
kind of went well.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can imagine a tethered giving birth, like, shit, what the hell is this, without having any prior knowledge of what birthing is.
Anesthetic or
yeah. And then she mentions the birth of the son, where the person living on the surface had a cesarean. Cut it out of her belly, whereas she had to endure all of it. So I'm kind of getting like, you could have afforded to have this complicated medical procedure done, but since I am not above and therefore healthcare, so there's a message of that.
I mean, with everything going on, I think that reading is actually probably way more poignant. Mm-hmm. I really like that reading of the movie. And there's a lot of papers who said that too, or like kind of talked about that as well.
And that's the beauty of it too, is that it's, even your reading isn't wrong either. So.
Yeah. And I think that's what's fun about the movies. You can read a whole lot into it. That being said, I feel like because of that, the movie really falls apart when you start to think about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Because a lot of the logic really isn't there. Like, so for instance, we get that the tethered are mimicking what people are doing on the surface. So like, what the hell happens in like small cities, small towns?
Yeah. What if you're on a cruise ship?
What if you're on a cruise? Are they like
tethered like under the boat?
Do they
on the sea floor?
Are there tunnels underneath there?
And apparently there's like millions of abandoned tunnels underneath the U.S. So perhaps underneath the seafloor as well.
Are you just like fucked if you're in a major city? So that's where it starts untethering itself,
falling apart. And when I tell people about this movie, or if I kind of describe the kind of movie it is, I definitely say it's a horror movie, but it's more of like, for me, a almost fairy tale like quality to it. In fairy tales, you don't really question why the fuck Red Riding Hood's going through the forest, knowing full well there's a goddamn wolf around. You just can't think about it, right? But that's not the point of the story. And I feel like the same with us. You can't think about it. Like, that's not the point. You're not supposed to think about those things because it's telling you a story. It's not. Yeah. It's presenting you with this fantastical story. It's not trying to be real. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Get Out, it makes sense. It for the most part, keeps the realism until the very, very end. Where Us is just kind of all over the place in its fantasticalness. I don't know if that's a word.
It is now. And kind of following in with what you said about it being a fairy tale. I mean, even when they invade the house and she starts telling the story, she literally starts off the story with, once upon a time. So once upon a time, there it is already. And going back to what you said before about like it being everywhere, I quite agree. Get Out had a pretty solid like sense of the tone it wanted to be. I feel it was a great mix of like horror, comedy, and thriller, you know, or suspense, whichever you want to prefer of those two terms. This one
and satire.
This one, I didn't really spot too much satire. The horror was definitely upped a lot. Thriller, there really wasn't too many suspenseful scenes, really. Even in the scenes where, you know, suspenseful stuff happens, it just sort of happens as a matter of factly. Like, a great example for that would be the scene with the father in the lake.
Okay.
You know, when he falls off the boat, we're supposed to be like, oh, shit, you know, what's happening? You know, I didn't really feel that this time around, you know, which is fine because at least with my theatrical experience, the audience cheered when he slammed his head against the engine and then he got all sliced up. Yeah. So,
both theater experiences, everyone cheered at that moment.
Yeah. And, but the one thing that Jordan Peele retains in both movies is that Get Out may have had like a razor sharp sense of like setup where he sets up the pins in the opening scene, and each time in the second half of the movie they're knocked down beautifully. This one kind of has that. Things are set up and things are paid off, you know, but it's not as razor sharp as Get Out.
It's like smaller things are paid off, yeah, specifically with like the characters, you know, Zora and her running and
the magic trick.
The magic trick and things like that. Those things pay off, but like the plot, like the setup of because the trailer sets it up as like a home invasion. That's what I thought going in. This was going to be a home invasion with clones or something. And there was no indication that it would be an actual apocalyptic tale, which I feel like is what we're supposed to believe by the end. Like this is like a natural disaster sort of that's occurring. That was nowhere in the trailers. And so at least I loved that at least it had some of the plot lines don't go anywhere, but it has a cool twist. And at least one, whether you like it or not, you either go with it or you don't. In the moment when you find out what the twist is, that's when I think people kind of drift off. It stops being a regular slasher type horror movie and it turns into something much more They Live-ish, like just more grandiose, I think.
So when you say twist, which are you talking about? We're, of course, assuming that listeners have seen it. So let's go into this saying full spoilers. Which twist are you talking about?
So for me, it was a twist when I found out they were more tethered. Okay. I saw Elizabeth Moss is tethered, and I should have saw it coming because they made so many points to like show that couple's quirks as well that you would see reflected in their tethered versions. But when that point hit and we got to their house and they were murdered, that was a twist to me. Like I did not see that coming, and for the rest of the movie is like it changed what the movie was for me. It wasn't just a straight up slasher. It turned into this, I don't know what it is. Like we had this huge fantastical, I don't know, explosion of a bunch of ideas that kind of go someplace. He just has good ideas. I'm not going to say they all work. I mean, the tethered, I don't really care for the hands around the world thing. And the whole tethered holding hands literally across the world. That to me was kind of ridiculous.
And it's great they actually referenced the scene with, you know, the Elizabeth Moss, Tim Heidecker family, because for me, that is where the movie switched tones to semi-comedy.
There's a lot of like, you said there's not a lot of satire in this one. I'd more describe it as like sarcasm. Like
there we go.
You know, it's like the tone feels sarcastic. That they're all very snippy with each other at that point when they're fighting each other. There's lots of dialogue and things going on, and it's just more like catty with it. And it is funnier, but it also for me is when the movie really picks up and sort of the. I mean that whole scene where the main family is at Elizabeth Moss's super high-end mansion, that's when it really picks up for me and is a lot of fun. I think that's my favorite sequence. Yeah,
because you have some genuinely terrifying scenes, like with just the blunt, straight-up murders of that whole family. But then you get the comedic death of Elizabeth Moss, where she meets her end to the song "Fuck the Police."
Fuck the Police.
Yeah.
And then they have the great, like, the scene of everyone, I think it's when they're all in the table, where they're talking about, like, I killed so-and-so, and I got these.
I got the higher kill count.
Yes, I mean genius, like
Yeah.
so good.
So it's like, okay, and then suddenly we get the really intense pursuit sequence of Zora's tethered, her death
Yeah,
scene. So
the
yeah,
most evil tethered,
yeah, she was probably
perhaps. Like,
she was more menacing than the father tethered.
yeah, I was more afraid of her than any of the other ones.
Just that straight up like smile, like
That
you know,
actress,
it
so
was
good.
awesome. Oh, and so I know for a fact that me and my former roommate, we watched this together at Arizona Mills, and one of the things he would always do to creep me out would be that he would do that. So
I hate that.
I just wanted to reference that because that's his contact icon on my phone. So I'm just like, there. Yeah,
great.
that's how much I love it. So let's talk about the lead tethered, the Lupita Nyong'o tethered.
Just like, what's her face?
We both hate the voice, right?
Fucking hate. I hate the voice of Red, but I mean, as far as Lupita Nyong'o, just like Hereditary, I feel like Lupita was robbed of some kind of award because I think she does so amazing playing both parts and having sympathy for both.
Mm-hmm. It was actually, come to think of it, this was probably the first role I have seen her in where she was actually playing someone normal.
Like not, was it 12 Years a Slave or something? She was in?
That's the first role I saw her in, and she was obviously severely oppressed in that movie, character-wise, I mean, because she was whipped, and she was crying in that too, but
Yeah.
But, and then, of course, we have her playing Maz Kanata in Star Wars, which, okay.
So random. I forget about that all the time.
Butthole eyes, And then finally, it's like the first time I've seen her, like, legitimately look modern day Lupita Nyong'o, no accent, no CGI. This is Lupita Nyong'o. This is what she's capable of,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that's my fault because I guess I don't really go see her movies, but I honestly, aside from like 12 Years a Slave, this and Star Wars, and I think there's a movie she's coming out where she plays like a Jason Bourne-esque kind of character. What is that?
And she did a zombie movie like last year or something.
Little
Or the year
Monsters.
before, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, that is on Amazon, by the way. So it's on Shudder and Amazon. I haven't seen it. It is definitely on the list. How could you go wrong with Lupita Nyong'o protecting kids from zombies while Josh Gad is an asshole?
I mean, she seems to be good at protecting her kids.
Kinda. Well,
she at least
get
raised them to protect themselves, at least.
Yeah, it says they handled themselves quite well. Yeah. Except for the girl who didn't kill that one girl, but it's all right. She killed herself, her tethered, so that counts.
Yeah.
And gosh, but again, excellent performance. Again, I remember that was the most jarring thing the first time as well was, her voice. It's like when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, that was unexpected. And then I realized, oh no, this is going to be her voice, that character's voice for the whole
movie. Thank God she doesn't have too many lines. She's mostly all eyes, like.
Yeah, the eyes. That shot at the end, which utilizes my favorite method of photographing someone in like that kind of way, the split diopter lens where she's just super up close and she's in the background, she's in the foreground, and she's just like, once, so it's like, that was a really intense angle, but then that's just a testament to her acting as well. And of course, maybe this time it didn't bug me because there was a reason behind it, which we don't find out until the end. See, now that's the twist I was thinking about.
I always forget about that twist. I always think about the main twist, but then I'm like, oh yeah, that fucking bitch.
And I think that is great. Knowing what that twist is and watching it again it all makes sense. When she's talking about, it's a lot of subtle lines, like how they were in Get Out, what the father's saying. Yeah, once my mother and father died, I couldn't let them go. And there were a lot of lines like that in this too, with her, particularly when she's reminiscing about the time she ran off into a hall of mirrors. So,
forgetting to explain, she kidnapped a child and stole her life and identity.
Forgot to leave that out, sweetie. Which I guess is a perfect segue into the father character. Which I didn't know until this viewing was that snow mountain dude from Black Panther.
You didn't? I knew that going in. I was happy for him.
What was his character's name?
More work.
Umgatsu.
I don't know. My mind's all over the place.
Yeah.
Umbaku or Mbaku.
Umbaku. Like there we go. Umbaku. So I was just like, that is great. So, am I crazy? Did I hear this rumor that the actor did gay porn before he became an actor?
That actor?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but I'm gonna look it up now.
I may have heard it. I don't know if it was him, but I just remember this whole thing happening when Infinity War came out, that this actor did gay porn, and I didn't look into it. Much
bigger story, but I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah, you should. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's just what I remember hearing about him.
I kind of hope it is,
because he is a gigantic dude, which
is a beast.
Has to ask the question, and I think Jordan Peele's logic was okay with it, but his concern was, this actor is humongous, like meaning that he's really, really tall. Could this guy not defend his family? But I think that is kind of pushed aside a little, kind of like don't think about it. But I think the actor,
but his version is the exact same size as him. So he could, maybe if they were regular sized,
maybe
people. But he was fighting also himself, and also a version of himself that's like more animalistic and like feral, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. But go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, but also I think the actor does a terrific job of being such an adorably dorky dad that it's kind of believable. He is adorable, yeah. Like, he may be big, but he's like a big dorky teddy bear,
He's a gentle giant.
So I'm actually kind of buy that he is unable to fend for himself, so to speak, because again, he's just, I don't know, he's just adorable in this movie. He's very dorky. He's like, oh, dad. So I think the actor kind of played his toughness, his Umbaku character down a bit, and presented us with dad of the year kind of a thing, build a boxcar, race it down the hill, son, kind of a dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I guess let's talk about the kids real quick.
Okay.
Kids,
who I love. I think they're great.
Mm-hmm. The kids, and they're tethered. Obviously, the daughter gets kudos for pulling off both the very alarmed teenager girl and the psychotic, won't blink at you tethered person.
The monster.
Mm-hmm. The kid, however, tethered was definitely creepy.
I'd say he was better at being the tethered than the human version. I think they all did great, but I think he was kind of the weaker of the actors.
I didn't quite buy that, he was that weird kid, He just looked like a kid who was trying to be weird, he
looked like an introvert.
Yeah,
that's all he looked like, was an introvert.
Like the mask, the trick thing, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something about the human kid that I wasn't I wasn't totally buying this time around.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think his other version makes up for it, and that's the one I kind of pay attention to more, I think.
Yeah. Now, his death sequence where he is tricked into going into a self-immolating.
It's a great visual. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But it's a great visual, but it is one of those things that I'm like, it looks cool, and I guess he died, but it doesn't really think about it too much. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Because it was set up in the closet that his tethered, like, literally, like, mirrors him, like, more so than the others, I feel. You know, because they're taking off the masks and they're, you know, doing that whole thing. And
But he never did that any other time than in the closet and then in his death scene.
So I'm just like, okay, I guess I was kind of, that's one scene I was very disappointed in. Was I don't know what I expected. I don't know if I expected like a fucking showdown between these two characters, the tethered and the surfacer. But like,
I thought so in the trailer.
Like, I thought it was so badass in the trailer. Like, oh shit, he's walking to them like, come at me, bro, from the flames. But actually he's walking into the flames. Like, oh, okay, that's
very anticlimactic.
Yeah, which I guess that makes sense symbolically. The character who is a pyro dies by fire. So,
but then somehow Red is like waiting behind the van, the perfect length back for the main kid to walk backwards and get kidnapped.
No one saw her.
Where's the dad? Where's the sister?
I liked the setup. That, oh god, it's a trap. But then that's it. Like, you know, blow up the car or something. Use the explosion as a distraction to kidnap the son. You know?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean about this movie has a lot of really cool ideas, but some of them don't really go anywhere or just kind of fall flat. Like, it's a cool idea to have a kid walk backwards into flames, right? That looks awesome.
Yeah.
But, like, that's it. That's all it is. It doesn't really go anywhere.
I would have... I think... No, I don't want to say it would have saved the movie. I think I wouldn't have walked away feeling disappointed and confused the first time I saw it, is if the pyro kid had his moment, flicked a match, threw it on the ground, that flame slides up in slow motion, they get out, music, I don't know what the fuck they're saying, and then
explosions.
Where's the son? Where's my son? You know, and then, you know, maybe in the distance you see her like running with him, you know, like, come chase me, bitch.
They look away and he's like way down the line with her, with like under her arm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's because she knew exactly who took him and where they were, you know. That's like the
that's
one.
Also another thing where it's like you can't think too much about it. Or else like it kind of falls apart.
All right. So, yeah, the son's been kidnapped by the tethered mother, and the mother goes into where it all began. And then that's when everything is revealed and all the weirdness, I think, makes sense. So essentially, there is a bunch of people living under your...
I mean,
underground.
You get an explanation. Yeah, you get an explanation, but it doesn't really explain a whole lot, right? They just kind of tell you stuff.
So, yeah, there's people underground that mimic everything you do and live your life out as best as they can. She kind of...
Under Santa Cruz.
Under Santa Cruz, which I like the fact the reason why it's Santa Cruz is because that's the same pier from The Lost Boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they even make a reference, like, I think they're filming a movie over there or something like that.
Oh, because 1986 was when it was shot. So, oh my God, that's beautiful. But yeah, no, apparently there's like a vague explanation that it was a government experiment of people that were clones of real people, but they failed to replicate the soul, so they were born without a soul. So, yeah, I don't know much. And
it all takes place in a hallway. Looks like one hallway underground.
It looks like a mall, you know.
Yeah, like a mall, but it like takes place in the one central, mostly just like they keep showing the one hallway down there with all the people against the walls, like mimicking the. I did think it was cool. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but like when they were mimicking the roller coaster and
So
things
like,
like that, or the couple feeding each other.
so like, again, this is thinking too much into it. Is everyone in Santa Cruz on there? What happens when the people at the carnival go home? Do they go to a different part of that underground place that is underground the house?
I mean, apparently, I guess if there's like billions of underground tunnels, there must be some ventilator they can, or ventilation shaft they can crawl into, and
Yeah. So there you go. I don't think too much about it, but our whole film builds up to a grand finale of a battle between the tethered mother and what the hell's her name? Addie.
Adelaide.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Addie versus Red. It isn't a traditional fight scene. It is, in fact, there's a lot of thought put into it, both creatively and artistically. Creatively, we've already discussed it. Musically, there's the precise movements of Red, who has danced all of her life, so she's much more precise. She's more driven to protect herself and attack when she's able to. And Addie, who is very clumsy, hasn't danced in a while, and is very slow, and she gets hacked to death with some scissors.
She gets Adelaide?
Yeah.
Adelaide gets like fucked up at that end scene. With the scissors, I mean, she's cut up left and right. I do think it's kind of funny that somehow like Red is so good at like hand-to-hand combat and like melee attacks and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, all she's done is dancing.
Which, hey, I mean, as I always like to say when I choreograph my fight scenes for movies, it is like choreographing a dance. So I guess they literally took that to heart.
True.
So, but I guess the message is don't fuck with the ballet dancer because they'll fuck you up.
Yeah, because they got scissors.
But yeah, the
I do love how vicious the fight gets towards the end, especially with the consequence of Red being murdered. The way she's murdered, I think, was delightfully brutal.
Yeah, she gets impaled with a fire poker, and then she gets strangled by handcuff while whistling with blood in her mouth, and then her fucking neck is broke. Again, we're getting down to the kind of bookends of the characters, because the first time she meets this character, she gets choked out, and the last time she meets this character, she chokes her out, which leads us into our big twist.
So Red is actually Adelaide.
And Adelaide is Red.
Right. And Adelaide is Red. What did you think?
I was genuinely surprised. However, upon watching it for the first time, knowing that this was a Jordan Peele movie, and kind of knowing now, especially with the second movie, that he intentionally kind of sets things up. Like, nothing is an accident. There's a purpose to almost every line, every action. So it's I felt, okay, it's something we didn't see in the opening scene. And it turns out there was the suspicious thing is that, oh shit, she basically just kidnapped that girl and switched places with her. So I mean, actually,
it's good. I did love seeing the little. I loved seeing the child version of her, like perform the crime. I thought that was great.
Yeah, it's like she drags that bitch, ties her up, robs her, like takes her clothes. Oh my gosh, and I really liked it. But my only question now on a second viewing: why is the son suspicious? If this is the woman that she grew up with, why is she like giving him that look that's like, are you my mom?
I think he was doing it because he recognized, because like when they're having, when Adelaide and Red are having their fight, Adelaide goes like super feral and starts like, her voice gets raspy. She starts like grunting and basically sounding and acting like a tethered. And I feel like he saw all that and he was, okay. I don't know, he noticed a similarity.
Yeah. Okay. I can buy into that then. I still think it'd be kind of like, I mean, I like the visual. I like the visual because, again, going back to that scene at the end of Get Out, you didn't need her to say anything to him, and she didn't say he didn't need to say anything to her as she was left there to die.
Yeah.
I think it was a subtle thing that said, "It's okay, Mom, your secret's safe with me," as he pulls his mask down. So that may be like,
and also okay. Maybe Red was like, "Hey, kid. I'm your mom and your mom's me." Like, really quick before the final... Because she did kidnap him. Maybe on the way back downstairs, she was like, "By the way, kid, guess what?"
She spilled the beans, maybe. Interesting. Very interesting.
Possibly.
I read, like, a theory of a YouTuber saying something along the lines of, well, that's what... her son is actually the tethered son. But that doesn't make sense, considering that the tethered mother gave birth to the tethered boy. So... that theory went out the window, but
yeah, I heard that too, and I wasn't buying it.
Yeah, and I like it. I really like it. It gave us something to. I remember the audience was like, "What? Really? Whoa!" So I guess it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think? Did you like it?
The twist. Like I said, the first time I saw the movie, I was like, what the fuck? This was so stupid, whatever. And then now I like it. Like, now that I know more and kind of, when I saw it the second time, I could pay attention really and pick out different things and see it with more of a critical eye and not thinking about Get Out. I do really enjoy the twist. It is just one of those, like, out of nowhere. Oh, by the way, boom. Huge revelation movie ends. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You're kind of seeing, like, a not only a visual style to Jordan Peele, but you're also seeing like the way he writes his screenplays. And that's not such a bad thing. It's just, I'm really kind of wondering if and when he does a third. Is he doing a third film? I know he's been producing a lot because he did The Twilight Zone and Candyman.
I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
He has been producing a shit ton, but I don't know if I've heard of him have a specific movie planned.
Whatever the third film is, we're going to have to see if it kind of follows the same, like, routine as his first two films, which...
I want it to be the main character from Get Out fighting his tethered version.
Shared universe. Shared universe. I can buy into that because, Jordan Peele can totally
the Monkey Paw verse.
Monkey Paw verse. I love it. Pawniverse. Pawniverse? Monkey Pawniverse? Yeah. One of those things. Monkeyverse.
Something.
But yeah, I guess that's about it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
say so.
One thing, did you happen to catch the cameo by Caleb Landry Jones?
I didn't.
I don't know if it is, but it looks exactly like his character from Get Out. It's in the opening scene, 1986, when the father is playing the whack-a-mole. There's a guy next to him playing whack-a-mole. It looks exactly like him. The same hair, the little mustache. I have a feeling it is him. I don't know. I would have to confirm that. Yeah. It's welcome, but it's so, like, he's not facing camera or anything. You see, like, a little side profile of him briefly. And, like, if you don't know who Caleb Landry Jones is, it's just some dude. But this time around, I think that might be him. But I'll look into it.
Cool.
But let's go ahead and get into closing thoughts.
I think I pretty much said it already. I think it's a really fun movie. I don't think it's for everyone, and I don't think it's a movie to go in expecting a typical horror movie. And it's definitely not Get Out. But I think if you go in with an open mind and just want to watch a fun, crazy story with some twists and turns and some pretty good violence and action, I think it's a great one.
Absolutely. You know what? Same. Honestly, though, even on second viewing, Us isn't my favorite Jordan Peele movie. Get Out still holds that. But it just goes in order for me. Us is my favorite, and my second favorite movie of his is Us. Or Get Out is first, Us is second. So, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the same elements that made Get Out good is present here, but it's just, I don't want to say, it's not poorly executed. It's just executed in a way that doesn't make it as good as Get Out. And I think it's funny because it's like comparing $100 bill versus one $100 bills, you know? So it's like, they're both the same, but one's a bit more fine-tuned than a stack of ones, you know? So it's like...
I think Get Out is the better movie structurally, and just in general is a better movie, but I feel like Us has way more rewatchability and is more fun. Like, I'm probably not going to watch Get Out again, unless I have to, in a long time. It is kind of... Middle part's kind of boring, to be honest. Whereas Us, I feel like continuously ramps up and is kind of fun throughout.
Yeah. So
for me, at least.
Yeah, no, I share the same thing, and I was really looking for. I think I really purposely planned this because I wanted to rewatch it with a critical eye, and I did, and it's great because I still don't. I love it still, despite its downfalls. It's certainly a really great horror movie, horror comedy, horror satire, horror sarcasm, whatever the word was before. It's all of those things and more. So,
agreed.
What should our ratings be? How many golden scissors?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, Toby, how many out of 5 golden scissors? How many scissors do you give Us?
I think I give Get Out 4.5.
No, you gave it 5.
Oh, I did? Okay, well, then I'm going to give Us 4.5.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I don't think it's as good as Get Out, as good of a movie, but it's still a whole lot of fun, I think. And so I will knock off a point because structurally, like you did say, it's kind of all over the place. Some things just don't really go anywhere. But it's still a whole lot of fun, and I feel something I probably will revisit a couple more times. I like showing people this movie.
Because you've seen this how many times?
I mean, maybe 4 times now.
4? Okay.
Maybe more than that because I just showed Brian. I forget what that number was.
And it's only my 2nd time, so who knows? We'll revisit it in a year. Maybe when Jordan Peele has his 3rd outing, which seems inevitable, I'll do like a whole Jordan Peele rewatch movie. So the trilogy, his Blood and Cornetto trilogy.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, actually, I will give Us 4 golden scissors out of 5. Pretty much, I would just be reiterating what I said. I am a huge fan of Get Out, and I'm a general fan of his movie Us. So, and 4 out of 5 for a horror movie, not a bad thing at all. So
no, not at all.
Yeah, I love the music, love the visuals. It literally subverts our expectations because again, we went in thinking it was a home invasion, but then it just expanded. It blew up to this fantastical thing. So
yeah,
and that's our review of Us.
Woo!
All right, well, thanks for listening to us discuss Us. Next week, we'll be going back to Jordan Peele's first movie he ever made, Get Out. Until then, you can listen
We'll be energized and revitalized for it.
And we'll tell you exactly what happened the first time around. So stick around.
We'll get into it.
Join us next week for that. But until then, you can find us on all the social medias. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can listen to us on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We are going to actually continue doing videos for YouTube, so you can find us on YouTube. And as always, you can find us on Podbean. We don't have a website, so whatever. So yeah, join us next week. We'll be discussing Get Out. I'm really excited about the last episode of this month because that's going to be the final gaze discuss something. We haven't quite landed on a subject yet, but we're not going to be talking about a horror movie. We'll be talking about a topic. We'll figure out what that.
I'm shooting for Wonder Woman. That's what I want. But it could be anything.
Do you want to call it right now? The final gaze discuss Wonder Woman 1984.
I would love to because I've been dying to really open it up and discuss.
I think it's settled. At the end of the month, the final gaze discusses will be the final gaze discuss Wonder Woman 1984. Until then, my name is Harrison.
And I am Dopey.
And we are The final gaze.